Film Dogpacka kolejny, MrBeast Secret CEO, to już jest trochę prześladowanie mi się wydaje. 27-minutowy tym razem, przynajmniej nie godzina, więc chociaż tyle. Co tu się odpierdala? Czy on dalej będzie miał naćpane oczy? To jest moje pytanie.
Okay, so this video is going to focus around one instance of essay. I wanted to put all the essay allegations into one video, part 3, final video until Jimmy responds at least. I sort of
No w sumie Jimmy to już trochę odpowiedział, bo chyba tam pozew został wytoczony na tego k***a ziomala, więc mogę przyspieszyć. On lubi sobie często przyspieszyć akurat wypowiedź, no ale spróbujmy.
Would be as far as like getting everything approved with victims and lawyers and like also, you know, traditional media is involved. They've been DMing me, you know, New York Times, Time Magazine, also like documentary people. I don't know. You're like, hey, I've worked with Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV and Peacock. Are you interested? And I'm like, I don't know, but you know, I think people should go to those more legitimate sources to get their stories out. So I've been referring people to other people because traditional has, you know, more resources than I do and better legal protections than I do for sure. I do have sort of that...
Kurwa, no klasycznie turbo pierdolenie na początku. Ale sam temat, jeżeli chodzi o tytuł filmu, to mnie ciekawi, bo w sumie nie zdziwiłbym się, gdyby nad MrBeastem siedział ktoś wyżej postawiony, ale tak nie do końca sobie mogę teraz wyobrazić, kto to mógł być, kurwa. CEO Google'a, CEO Amazona, z racji, że teraz robią to jakiś show.
That bigger project, the original part 3, and I have a lot of other interviews and other allegations that I'm working on putting together, so I have something for when MrBeast responds. If his response is bad, then I can sort of point out, hey, he lied here and he deflected and straw man argument or whatever, as well as like dropping new allegations and doing it in an opportune way so that they get the most eyeballs. But yeah, I just want to say this is just around sort of one allegation. Also, everything in this video is allegedly. This video is not monetized. It's for educational purposes only.
Broni się przed pozwem. Everything is allegedly.
Matters of public interest. I'll put a full disclaimer on the screen. But yeah, here's the video.
This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please do not contact people mentioned in this video. This video is meant to report on issues of public concern about public figures who are responsible for blah, 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 blah.
Okay, today I'm going to be covering MrBeast's secret CEO, James Warren, and his involvement in essay cover-ups, like the one including his best friend, Locoya Hill, who also happens to be MrBeast's secret chief operating officer, or was.
Locoya Hill.
And then I want to touch on the man himself, Jimmy Donaldson. MrBeast has very publicly and transparently been engaging in a massive cover-up, deleting a lot of evidence, and I think a lot of this cover-up is going sort of completely under the radar. We're not even aware of what's being swept under the rug, and they're getting away with hiding and
cover-up mu chodzi? Czy on naprawdę usuwanie komentarzy pod filmem nazywa kurwa cover-upem? Jakby chłop, nie wiem, kurwa, ukrywał bomby atomowe w piwnicy CIA?
After I called out James Warren by name in my last video, his Instagram and Facebook got taken down, and his LinkedIn got taken down. So quick profile on James Warren. He's Jimmy's cousin and secret CEO, and I say secret because, you know, they're not very open about that fact. Like, he doesn't post about it on social media. It wasn't ever attached to his LinkedIn. He's never featured or really referenced anywhere. I heard that he's very aggressive. I've heard him referred to as a psychopath who screams at people and hits his girlfriends. There's allegedly...
Nie, szczerze, jak na pierwszym filmie byłem zaciekawiony, co ma do powiedzenia ten były pracownik, tak im dalej w las, tym kurwa coraz mniej mu chcę wierzyć. Chłop przedstawia tutaj, że no to jest sekretny CEO MrBeasta, to jest jego kuzyn, coś tam, ale publicznie się nie pokazuje w social mediach. No i oczywiście domniemanie bije swoją partnerkę, coś tam, no kurwa. Fajnie, że rzuca takie rzeczy w rozmowie, ale no też przydałoby się jakikolwiek dowód do tego pokazać i wątpię, że tu się pojawi dowód a propos tego wreszcie filmu.
Domestic violence charges that were filed.
On to wrzucił w rozmowie tak casualowo, jakby to była normalka, nie? No idę sobie na kawę, kurwa, co sobotę. No to jest kuzyn MrBeasta, tego najgorszego skurwysyna, wiecie, to jest jego kuzyn, który jest sekretnym CEO, on napierdala swoją żonę.
It turns out there's a lot of people in North Carolina named James Warren who assault their girlfriends, I guess, so I'm still having people look into these cases, specifically that surprise witness on YouTube. She's been super helpful in like behind the scenes, just submitting freedom of information requests and just helping me out a lot in general. She's super nice, super smart. She'll be posting a lot of updates on her channel, as she has been about the MrBeast situation.
MrBeast video caused a military operation.
James Warren, also allegedly an ex-drug addict. I've heard that he offered cocaine and hookers to editors to stay late. And then the really big thing is that there was some incident between him and a female colleague.
Kurwa, no Tiwol tak nie płacił.
That resulted in the female colleague leaving the company and receiving 3 years in severance pay. I'm still actively looking into this incident, so if you have information, let me know. But I've heard from multiple credible sources that this is true and this did happen. Also, I should quickly clarify that a lot of this...
600 ponad giftów na kanale, dziękuję bardzo. Sorry, że ja tak chodzę, ale myję monitory, bo mam tak ujebane, a nie miałem czasu wcześniej tego zrobić.
Investigation is allegedly, you know, sort of the nature of these instances. I have a lot of testimony, corroborating testimony. But the reason I'm publishing this is that hopefully it brings more information to light. Like after the Jake Weddle interview got posted, which was all mostly testimony, people came out corroborating a story, and then ultimately Jimmy ended up apologizing and offering him $190,000, which to me I think is most likely an admission of guilt.
I to jest, czekaj, to było po publikacji tego ostatniego filmu, czy nie? Bo to jest ten gościu, który mówił, że tam na jednym challenge'u on nie wytrzymywał, nie pozwalali mu gasić światła i ogólnie płakał. W ogóle ludzie bronili tego typa w komentarzach, jak chyba Shota wrzuciliśmy na YouTube'a. Czy nowego PC-ta mam? Tak, byłem ziemniak, okazało się, że mnie zaprosił na nagrywki muzyczne, które były kurwa potajemnym przekazaniem mi nowego komputera. Także beka. Ale jeszcze zanim ja dopnę rzeczy z tym kompem, to parę dni minie na pewno. Jakby co, X3D nie wychodzą za chwilę? No dzięki właśnie za to, że mnie okłamałeś.
Mostly testimony. People came out corroborating a story, and then ultimately Jimmy ended up apologizing and offering him $190,000, which to me I think is most likely an admission of guilt. You don't apologize for things that you didn't do. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. But what's not allegedly is that James Warren was the former CEO.
Nie chcę, nie lubię tego typa. Wkurwia mnie. Widać, że ma jakiś kurwa personalny problem do MrBeasta. Nawet nie wiem, najlepsze jest to, że on cały czas pierdoli o ludziach, którzy... On nie mówi o swoich przeżyciach negatywnych z MrBeastem, tylko mówi, no widziałem, że MrBeast źle potraktował tą i tą osobę. Jakby na początku to było spoko, jeszcze dało się mu uwierzyć, bo rzeczywiście było to podparte jakimiś tam lepszymi, czasami gorszymi dowodami, ale teraz no kiedy chłop zaczyna mówić o sekretnym CEO MrBeasta, który jest jego kuzynem, i przy okazji napierdala swoją dziewczynę i nie podpiera tego w żaden sposób dowodem, a później całą narrację prowadzi tak, żeby jak najbardziej negatywnie podejść do typa. Stary, MrBeast napisał do tego ziomra, co był w jego ostatnim filmie i płakał o to, że za tam, jak nie wiem, jak robili ten challenge, że on tam miał ileś dni w izolatce spędzić. No jakby wiecie, głupota, nie głupota, no raczej wiedział, na co się pisze i miał też dość dużo pieniędzy do wygrania z tego wszystkiego. Zachował się jak najbardziej w porządku, jak na moje. Napisał do niego, przeprosił, powiedział, że zrekompensuje mu to, że zapłaci mu 190 000 kurwa dolarów. To, czy moralnie wy uważacie, że to jest w porządku, czy nie, to już jakby każdego indywidualna opinia. Ja uważam, że to jest, no lepiej podejść do tego nie mógł, czasu nie cofnie. Ale kurwa, żeby on jeszcze dopowiada, no skoro zapłacił, to musi czuć się winny. No okej, no ale kurwa, jakby ja nie rozumiem, on próbuje na siłę już kurwa kąsać tego MrBeasta, tak totalnie bezsensownie.
For things that you didn't do. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. But what's not allegedly is that James Warren was the former COO of acquisitions of a real estate investment firm called Greenstone Ventures LLC, which is one of the businesses listed in this indictment of his former business partner, Joshua Hutchins, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for running a real estate Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi schemes are great up until they just go bust.
So before working at MrBeast, James Warren was involved in a literal fraud. In fact, he's actually mentioned...
No to widać, że to jest zrobione z takim kurwa... No on ma jakiś problem do tego Beasta. Za chwilę wyciągnie dowody na to, że MrBeast był agentem rosyjskim. Znaczy no nie no tutaj na przykład to już zaczyna się jak ciekawy case. To, że że ten sekretny CEO, kuzyn MrBeasta był powiązany w jakikolwiek sposób z Ponzi, z piramidą finansową. Ale z drugiej strony no to znowu zostało póki co rzucone. No jego wspólnik został skazany za Ponzi scheme. No i dalej mógł coś o tym wiedzieć, mógł coś mieć z tym wspólnego, ale póki co nic nie pokazał. Oglądamy dalej, czy coś się pojawi, no ale szczerze wątpię, bo już widzę, jak to jest narracja prowadzona.
So before working at MrBeast, James Warren was involved in a literal fraud. In fact, he's actually mentioned in the court transcripts of this case. This is the sentence hearing for Joshua Hutchins. I'm going to highlight testimony from just one of these victims, a retirement-age woman named Sylvia. She testifies, I came to know Mr. Hutchins through a very reputable and successful real estate attorney who highly recommended Mr. Hutchins and who eventually left his agency to become the chief operating officer of Mr. Hutchins' investment firm. The chief operating officer of Mr. Hutchins' investment firm. She explains that the reason she trusted Mr. Hutchins was through the strong recommendation and endorsement from that very reputable and successful real estate.
Mr. Hutchins to nie jest ten Warren, czyli on dalej mówi o tym współasie kuzyna MrBeasta. Kurwa, gadamy o skazanym wspólniku kuzyna MrBeasta. Widzicie już jaki mam problem z tym? Znowu, film o MrBeastie, gadamy o wspólniku jego kuzyna. No kurwa.
Agent. He represented Mr. Hutchins as highly competent and capable. He presented a successful track record in how Mr. Hutchins had delivered for other investments. On the next page 16, she testifies, my trust was and has been severely violated. This is the equivalent of financial. Many of us entrusted Mr. Hutchins, who we've come to know to be fraudulent. Just $1.3+ million of worthless paper signed by him fraudulently misrepresented in the courts. So Hutchins was convicted for soliciting investment monies by telling victims that their money would be put to work on a specific property. In fact, Hutchins did not put all the investor funds to work on the property on which the investor was solicited.
Ile mamy? 6:20. Jeszcze cofnę do tego, czy to na pewno jest...
Which is one of the businesses listed in this indictment of his former business partner, Joshua Hutchins.
Tak, on gada cały czas o wspólniku kuzyna MrBeasta, kurwa.
investor funds to work on the property on which the investor was solicited to invest, and instead regularly used investor funds on other properties or personal expenses. Now, what kind of personal expenses? Well, apparently he bought an AR-15 and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. His wife had a domestic
Ameryka.
violence order of protection against him. He's accused of calling his wife a lying rat and sending menacing photos of himself in tactical gear in the woods to her friends and family.
Nie
Again,
no,
according
nazwał swoją żonę kłamiącym szczurem. Dobra, przekroczył wszystkie granice.
to Sylvia's testimony, James Warren represented Mr. Hutchins as highly competent and capable. She continues on page 17. James Warren, the then realtor who recommended me to Hutchins, also encouraged us to work with Mr. Hutchins on trying to make it work. And we did until it became very evident as to his apparent intent of complete fraud. So James appearing to sort of try to mediate this exchange, saying, hey, give him a chance, don't pursue him, don't sue him.
Znaczy, no dobra, no też nie chcę wykluczać możliwości, że ten kuzyn MrBeasta rzeczywiście, no może wiedział o skamie, ale zrobił sobie go na słupa, żeby jego imię nie było bezpośrednio do tego przywiązane. No ale dalej, no nie chce mi się, kurwa, słuchać gościa, który będzie pierdolił o 38 kuzynie ciotecznym od strony psa matki MrBeasta i nazywa film, kurwa, MrBeast Secret CEO. Czyli teraz rozumiem, że cały materiał będzie, kurwa, oskarżeniami w stronę kuzyna MrBeasta po to, żeby udowodnić, że MrBeast jest kurwą.
Just make it work, right?
No nawet załóżmy najgorsze, że ten kuzyn rzeczywiście robił jakieś piramidy finansowe, okradł 5 staruszek, kurwa, i spowodował 3 wypadki na autostradzie najebany. Dalej, no istnieje szansa, że MrBeast mógł o tym nie wiedzieć? No istnieje taka szansa.
The real losses due to fraud are evident. Financially, he's devastated my retirement. I can only hope and thank the good Lord that I have a brain to be able to function and try to earn back as much as possible.
Na początku serio myślałem, że ten gościu jest on to something, ale kurwa każdy kolejny film, no to jest tragedia, kurwa, jak go oglądam.
$1.3 million in real losses. These are not, I got a piece of property, it was all fraud. She goes on to describe her financial troubles through the years, supporting her mother who had Alzheimer's disease, how in the crash of 2008 she lost her job and for 2 years was unemployed. In 2014 she had a severe cancer diagnosis, was out of work for over a year. She continues in
Ale tak właściwie to jest bardzo możliwe, że ktoś stoi za MrBeastem i ma jakieś osoby chciałeś napisać z wielkim budżetem. Nie wydaje mi się, w sensie to już jest taka skala, że on nie potrzebuje raczej, znaczy inaczej, no zawsze będziesz miał kogoś, kto biznesowo sobie będzie radził lepiej od ciebie. No dobra, no prawie zawsze, no powiedzmy, że no już ciężko w przypadku na przykład, nie wiem, Bezosa czy kurwa Ilona Muska, ale tak dobrze prosperuje ten biznes MrBeasta, że on nie potrzebuje się uginać pod kogoś, żeby... I tak i nie, no ciężko, kurwa to jest trochę temat rzeka, ale no nie byłby to jego kuzyn, jakiś James Warren, o którym kurwa nie wiedzieliśmy do tej pory i się okazuje, że miał no o wiele mniejszą firmę najprawdopodobniej niż firma medialna MrBeasta.
that I've lived very frugally and tried to make things work. I've made him know of all my history and I told him I could not take the risk. He and James Warren, the then realtor, stated...
James Warren to jest ten kuzyn, a to jest jakaś chyba skarga na tego jego współlasa.
Real estate. She goes on to describe how they presented it as a safe investment opportunity for her, and then James Warren's business partner defrauded her of $1.3 million. Now,
Ale to
can I claim
oglądamy na
definitively that
większym
James
speedzie.
Warren was aware of the fraud that was taking place and willingly complicit in helping Mr. Hutchins defraud old ladies? No. But from what I've heard of James Warren's character, how he's hit ex-girlfriends, not let them leave the house, beat his dog, defrauded people in his own ways. Creative Juice is an interesting one that could be looked into, which was done with MrBeast, as well as another scheme that we'll get into that he conducted with Locoya Hill. I personally believe that when he was working with Mr. Hutchins, he was in similar company. I think the COO of acquisitions would know and be sort of responsible for properties not being properly acquired through the court system. But again, that's my opinion. That's all allegedly. Now, on to his alleged best friend, Locoya Hill. They both went to UNC Chapel Hill together, and they both, after graduating, got into real estate. But by 2017, Locoya Hill was running an adult entertainment event business in San Francisco called Locoya Hill Entertainment. Then in 2019, he was hired to MrBeast as a producer.
Our party evolved into this place where, you know, you have the drag queens, the muscle daddies, the bears, the twinks, the like posh boys.
Now, I'm all for personal freedoms. I believe adults should be able to do whatever they want. However, I question
Ale?
what qualified the sort of go-go dance drag daddy of San Francisco for a job producing YouTube content for children. You know, it'd also be weird if MrBeast hired Johnny Sins as the janitor, I guess. It's not the real issue, though. The issue is that in late 2021, he was allegedly...
Znaczy szczerze, jak na moje, no kurwa, nawet jakby sobie tego jebanego Johnny Sinsa wziął do filmów, no dopóki content nie będzie jakiś turbo dziwny, no to...
fired for sexually assaulting his assistant. Now, I put fired in quotation marks because he was actually quietly moved to the dubbing company, which was Unilingo at the time. Here is Proof that he used the Locoya at unilingo.tv email, links back to him, links to these photos, one of which was the profile picture for his YouTube channel, which also after my first video, his YouTube channel mysteriously got deleted. And at some point, his Twitter also got deleted. I don't know if that's when he sexually assaulted his assistant. I don't know if that's after my first video got posted. Either way, Booty Call Wednesdays are canceled. He was actually brought back
Tylko dalej, no jak on pierdoli, że tutaj 1, 2, 3, 8 współlas coś zrobił, dalej nie ma nic na MrBeasta, no ja nie rozumiem trochę tego.
in 2023, after sexually assaulting his assistant prior.
Czy mógł coś wiedzieć? No mógł coś wiedzieć. Mógł też po prostu dobrze nie sprawdzić, no.
And promoted to Chief Financial Officer, which is how I personally was introduced to him. Here's some evidence from the internal Slack channel at MrBeast showing Locoya Hill acting in some COO capacity, saying there's news reporters outside, do not engage with them. This was shortly after the Time magazine article came out. So here I have a document showing testimony from former MrBeast employees talking about Locoya Hill. When I say verified former MrBeast employee, I had them send some form of proof. I know who some of these people are. They just want to remain anonymous, but I'm willing to share this with like an independent third party if it needs to happen. Personally, I don't think MrBeast is going to deny sort of this Locoya Hill story that I'm going to show you. But here's the first testimony, and I'll say this person is especially credible in my opinion. I asked them, did you see or hear of any sexual misconduct at the company? They say yes. Locoya Hill, the current COO. In 2021, he had an assistant named victim's name. I heard Locoya acted very inappropriately with victim, booking hotel rooms with only one bed, walking around in his underwear, having victim come to his house and showing him his sex toy collection. Just in general, Locoya made victim uncomfortable. Victim started complaining to higher-ups, and a report got written. Locoya was put on paid leave for like a month. Then MrBeast moved him to the dubbing company, and he was hired back in 2023 and was promoted to COO, even though Jimmy, James, and Sue 100% know his history. Also, I heard that when victim was let go, he was given $30,000.
No dobra, no ale na 100% wiedział, no. Znaczy kurwa to na 100% musieli wiedzieć, że jakie firmy prowadził. Jeżeli rzeczywiście prowadził jakąś firmę produkcyjną porno, no to wątpię, żeby to im umknęło. Ale nie ma dalej żadnego dowodu, że to, o czym on mówi, działo się w jakimkolwiek stopniu pod skrzydłem MrBeasta.
In severance. I could get you victim's number. I don't know if he'd talk. I responded, yeah, that'd be great. Also, is there proof he moved to the dubbing company? I could look. It was the original dubbing company called Unilingo. MrBeast practically forced them to hire Locoya, and then they poached Unilingo's employees and copied their whole business and created Creator Global. Verified employee number 2. Asked them the same question, have you heard of any sexual misconduct at the company? They say yes. I don't know how to spell the name, but Locoya, something like that. He was brought in last year after having not worked there for a year or so at a very high level. I respond, Locoya Hill. They say, the reason he had been asked to leave previously is that he had sexually harassed someone that still worked at the company when he was brought back. Yes, Locoya Hill. But they brought him back knowing he had sexually harassed an employee previously. And people often talk about Locoya making them very uncomfortable on shoots. Verified employee number 3. I'm looking into more accusations of sexual misconduct at the company, wondering if there's anything you could corroborate. Have you heard of anything about Locoya Hill? They respond, the old gay guy who likes to bang 18-year-old straight employees? Yeah, I've heard of him. Anything non-consensual to your knowledge? I heard he got in trouble for hooking up with his 18-year-old straight assistant, but the company kept it quiet from what I heard. He's a producer and worked in the adult entertainment before MrBeast. Yeah, Locoya Hill Entertainment. I heard he was fired for sexual harassment, then brought back a year later. That's what I heard too. Employee number 4. Do you know who Locoya Hill is? Yes. And you're aware of the case that has been covered up for some time. Explain. Essayed multiple people, apparently roofied multiple people as well. Verified employee number 5. I'll also say this person is
sorry. My bad.
But they worked there a while ago, like 2020, 2021, around then. Okay, few things. Locoya sexually assaulted his assistant, who was straight, and Locoya was gay. You probably already know that. But James is best friends with him, so holy shit, was that surprising that they kept him around way longer than they should have. There were reports of him making the assistant sleep in the same room / bed with him on trips, touching him inappropriately, and dangling his job in front of him. Employee number 6. Did you hear anything about Locoya Hill? I heard that incident happened. I heard they let him go, and I heard they brought him back and just put him in a different department. And I don't know, but I think he's working there again. Now, recently, MrBeast has let Locoya Hill go. They had this sort of leaked email where they say, therefore, along with Jeff Hausenbold, our new president and COO, right? Alluding to the fact that Locoya Hill is no longer working there. Now, I have been open with MrBeast about the fact that I was going to cover Locoya Hill. This is a single frame in my first video where I reference Locoya. He's also in my Twitter header. And I've also just told people who work at MrBeast that they have to let Locoya Hill go. So they did what I wanted and let him go, right? Well, just on a whim, I decided to look into the Creator Global LinkedIn, and it had gone private to where everyone just shows up as a LinkedIn member, right? But I saw this, L, LinkedIn member, president at Creator Global. I thought, you know what, that's a little suspicious. So I reached out to one of my connections close to MrBeast and I said, hey, can you look into this account for me? Because sometimes if you have connections, you can see private LinkedIn accounts. And this is what they saw. Locoya Hill, listed as the current president at Creator Global. No work history between graduating UNC in May 2001 and becoming the president at Creator Global in 2024. Dude, this is like the 3-cup game where you gotta like keep track of the and rapists as MrBeast just moves them between companies.
They just sort of kept moving them around. You know, like those killer whales at SeaWorld, after it kills a trainer, they'll then move it up to Seattle. They don't give them their background.
Which I heard, MrBeast or James Warren forced Unilingo to hire Locoya as sort of part of their partnership without, sending them the report on his alleged sexual misconduct at the company. I also have a voice memo from James Warren showing that they told Unilingo to process a $28,000 bonus for Locoya, which there's definitely something suspicious going on with that.
Hey, buddy, it's James. Sorry to be bothering you. I've done my absolute best not to bother you.
Siema, Peczek.
Locoya had presented a bunch of stuff to me and Jimmy a little bit ago, all really great stuff. But he had asked me and Jimmy personally, he's like, hey, can I have a $28,000 bonus for work I did in the past? And I'm like, yeah, of course, man. And the reason for that is I brought him up to my level and I don't take
oglądam na
bonuses.
przyspieszeniu, bo ten gość tak pierdoli wolno.
So for like 2 years, he didn't get any bonuses when our guys were getting like crazy percentage bonuses. I need a favor. Sue cannot process this bonus through Beast. I need a solid. Can you please process a 28K bonus for Locoya? Let me know. Bye.
And then they used Locoya to try to steal Unilingo's business, poach their employees, take their clients, and then MrBeast launched Creator Global, where Locoya Hill is currently listed as the president. So that's Locoya Hill. And that's just what I can put on the record. I will say that if MrBeast tries to deny this, more evidence will be brought to light, and more people will definitely come out defending me, saying, hey, this is true, these allegations are true. This is all true, allegedly, in my opinion, for legal reasons. Okay, now let's move on to the man himself, Jimmy Donaldson. First, I'll show this testimony from another former MrBeast employee, just to show sort of the work culture, especially from a female's perspective. She says, on my very first day, I was told to avoid being alone in a room with certain people in positions of power. At least once a week, I was subjugated to inappropriate questions and conversations. Once, a male coworker asked me what I would do if Jimmy assaulted or harassed me. On another occasion, the same coworker said it wasn't fair that women could just decide a past sexual encounter wasn't consensual. Many of the men I worked with would make assault and pedophilia jokes on a daily basis. They would scream and hit walls when they got upset. The minute any woman leaves a room, they would talk about if/how they would occur. I've heard men comment on female contestants' bodies many times. Not everyone behaves this way, but no one openly speaks out against it in fear of losing their job. If you complain about any of this, you'll be shamed for being too sensitive or just ignored. You can't take anything to HR either because Jimmy's mom runs it. It's pretty common for people to essentially get paid to leave and stay quiet if they make enough noise about something. There is no employee handbook, by the way. If you ask for one or what the company's policies are, they just tell you to ask them and they'll let you know if anything is against the rules. But again, there's nothing in writing, which is true. The leaked document is just the production manual, not given to all employees. Here's another testimony. This person will go on the record. This is Jess, who accused Ava Chris Tyson of sexual assault. I think her case has been sort of mostly ignored because she wasn't a minor when it happened, but she was a MrBeast employee, and you can see in her evidence, in her communications with the company, the clear signs of a cover-up. You can see them like threatening her with legal action and emails, and saying like, oh, we're gonna have a law firm
Mered, nie przyspieszam tego na siłę. Jak będzie, to będzie.
investigate this. Well, they had one firm do an internal investigation, McGuire Woods LLP, the same law firm that sent me my first cease and desist. But then they hired, I guess, Harvey Weinstein's legal team, allegedly, to re-review everything. So I guess they weren't happy with the results of the first internal investigation. Also, yeah, this new law firm, Quinn Emanuel, MrBeast has worked with them previously, allegedly, to internally investigate Locoya Hill's sexual misconduct. So why don't you make that report public, Jimmy? Anyway, here's Jess's testimony. I only hung out with Jimmy a handful of times, but he definitely was a little more reserved around me because I wasn't a part of his inner circle, or the boys club as it's called. I did hear Jimmy straight up say that the guy making a documentary on him right now has footage of him saying stuff that would absolutely get him canceled. It's just a well-known thing the boys club is misogynistic and looks down on women in the company despite what they might say publicly. Behind closed doors, the women in the company know that the culture is a problem. I have heard multiple stories of Jimmy being directly informed of SA happening at the company and proactively working to keep it quiet, so Jess directly implicating Jimmy in the SA cover-ups. Locoya with an 18-year-old straight assistant, so she's one of the people corroborating that story. Ava told Jimmy about a time she was essayed by another talent member on a private jet, and talent members/employees making advances towards contestants was a regular occurrence. The reason all of this was able to happen for so long is because Jimmy is deeply misogynistic and only respects what he considers to be traditional women. He pushed those values into the company when he created it, and it resulted in several SA allegations we know about, and probably a lot more we don't know yet. Which I will say, a lot of the SA allegations are still not public. Like, man, just fire James Warren and Locoya Hill. Fire them, don't just move them around. Or I'm going to start dropping nukes. Anyway, I'm going to move Matty Spidell away from all this. I just want to touch on this briefly. So Matty Spidell, who's MrBeast's very public ex-girlfriend of 2.5 years, posted this on her Instagram story. She doesn't mention Jimmy by name. It's sort of vague, I think probably either because she's under an NDA,
To już
or
widziałem wcześniej.
maybe she's just testing the waters to see how people respond before sharing more information. But also, it's like not that vague if you have reading comprehension and can read context clues. She says she spent years being quiet, never acknowledging that time in her life. 19 to 21 are formative years. Impacted how she saw herself and how she trusted men. Months of therapy. She says how he treats other women will ultimately be how he treats you. So how does Jimmy treat other women?
I don't really get along with women. I don't really get along with women. I don't really get along with women.
Well, women are stupid because they're inferior to men.
That when she and a group of contestants who were menstruating during the event had asked the production staff about getting their underwear more quickly, she had been told that it was not a medical emergency.
You'll never actually respect women, but just act like you respect them.
MrBeast withheld my birth control.
Kurwa, takie wycinanie też z kontekstu, jak to był YouTube 2016 i kurwa Filthy Frank był w piku popularności, to też hit.
Says you can't just stop taking birth control.
I don't really get along with women.
Also in this podcast, Jimmy goes on to talk about his relationship with his current girlfriend, Tia, in very weird ways, in my opinion.
For us now, like an idea of a date is just to like take an IQ test and then study and see if we can get a higher. An idea of a date is just to like take an IQ test. And then she was like, I'm an author. And I was like, fuck yeah, good. She has a hobby. And then I just
Ale
DM'd her.
Jimmy zrelował.
It's like, oh, so you book. And I read it. She sent it over, read the whole book, and it was just like acting like it was the greatest book ever. I don't really get along with women.
It's all of our jobs to protect our friends, our moms, our wives, our sisters, our daughters, ourselves from people like that. That's a pretty clear statement.
Ja powtórzę coś, co już mówiłem też milion razy na streamach. Takie wyciąganie, kurwa, prywatnych żartów, prywatnych konwersacji. Znaczy, jeżeli tam jest, wiadomo, jakaś granica, nie? To też ciężko powiedzieć, co tam dokładnie się działo. I na pewno nie zaufałbym jemu, jak ewidentnie chłop ma coś, kurwa, przeciwko MrBeastowi i próbuje go zniszczyć. Już, kurwa, 3. film z kolei nagrywa. Nawet najgłupszy żart, który nie odzwierciedla twoich przekonań, może zostać wyrwany z kontekstu, jak wyjdzie z tego safe space'u znajomych. No i możesz sobie do tego przypisać jakiekolwiek, kurwa, teorie chcesz.
If you ask me. Now, I almost feel like there's been a campaign against...
Więc z tego powodu na to nawet nie patrzę. Nie uważam, że to jest solidny argument.
Matty Spidell to discredit her before she's even shared any information. A lot of like clout chaser and gold digger allegations. I'll say this is also from that Rolling Stone article. They referenced the breakup. The reporter says, Matty Spidell, who's appeared in a handful of videos, those in MrBeast's inner circle told me that Spidell had been a positive influence, forcing Donaldson to prioritize work-life balance more.
Donaldson to jak coś nazwisko Beasta, nie?
Donaldson did not want to comment on the record about the breakup, citing Spidell's privacy. Yet Chris Tyson, says Donaldson's singular focus on work was a major contributing factor. I think that's what he's going to be looking for next. Somebody who can match his obsession with business and money and all that kind of stuff. So not a bad word to be said about Matty Spidell from Jimmy or the people in his inner circle, which is pretty unusual of an ex-girlfriend. I'll show some of the brain-dead media coverage headed by Cuckstar and his news organization Drama Alert. So here's just one of his many posts about Matty. A thread of every time MrBeast's ex-girlfriend allegedly shaded him. Downplaying the clout-chasing claims against her. So let's see this extensive thread. One post of a TikTok where she said she was traumatized at 19. Why do you think that's about Jimmy, Keemstar? Allegedly complaining about MrBeast fans. This is her most popular TikTok period with over 6.5 million views and was posted last year. And then Drama Alert goes on to give one more example. And that's the end of the thread. So see, her most popular TikTok seems to be alluding to her relationship with MrBeast. And then she has hundreds of more TikToks where she never even tried to recreate the success of that first TikTok, right? Like if I'm her social media manager, I'm telling her, hey, post about Jimmy more. And she obviously knows that if she did that, she would get more views. And yet she doesn't do it. Hundreds of TikToks, about 30 of them are about Taylor Swift, maybe 3.
No dobra, ale do sedna.
Ex-boyfriend of 2.5 years, which for a Swiftie, it's extremely low to post only 3 times about your ex-boyfriend who's now incredibly famous. So if she was clout chasing, she's doing a horrible job at it. Now Drama Alert, on the other hand, has posted more times in the past month about Matty Spidell than Matty Spidell has ever posted about MrBeast. So I just wanted to address that because I think MrBeast knows Matty has nukes against him and he's trying to discredit her. So let's look at this leaked email. This is from MrBeast. It says, yesterday Dawson saved 100 billion. Whoa, guys, whoa. Guys, I don't know how that got there. That was the wrong email. I don't know how that got there. Yeah, so I've actually heard from pretty credible people that this email was not leaked. So, why lie about it? Devious or deceptive tendencies. Here he is quoted in that Rolling Stone article saying, I'm great at lying. But I want to focus in on this part where they say, therefore, along with Jeff Hausenbold, our new president and COO, we will be hiring a new chief human resource officer, chief financial officer, interesting, and general counsel, along with other roles to add capacity and competencies to foster a better internal culture as we continue to grow. So what's interesting about this is that the only person named in an initiative to foster a better internal culture is Jeff Hausenbold. But what's ironic about this is that Jeff Hausenbold has been in the news previously for the internal culture that he helped create as managing partner at the SoftBank Vision Fund. Here's New York Post. Nasty executives shaped macho culture at SoftBank Vision Fund. And here's Bloomberg Business Week. SoftBank Vision Fund employees depict a culture of recklessness. It has also been described as an environment of sycophancy and harassment. So seemingly all the problems that people have with MrBeast's internal culture. But this Bloomberg article also goes to call Jeff out by name. Jeff Hausenbold collects cars, including a blue Ferrari, and claims to own a 20,000 bottle wine cellar, although he doesn't drink himself. Acquaintances describe him as smart and arrogant and almost entirely lacking in self-awareness. He's also gotten away with some questionable behavior. In a discussion about whether to invest in the stationary bike startup Peloton in 2017, according to 2 people who were in the meeting, Hausenbold opined that its exercise equipment appealed in part to men who masturbated to its workout videos.
Dude, I want to jerk off! Fuck, I want to jerk off! Look at this!
SoftBank denied the claims, but it's an oddly specific thing for two people to make up a story about masturbating to Peloton workout videos. So yeah, maybe I don't see the vision with hiring this guy as the new president. Also, this is just what I can share right now. I do have more information that I'm trying to get out, trying to get permission from the victims and everything. Also trying to save some things for when MrBeast responds. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching.
Czyli podsumowując, kuzyn MrBeasta był zamieszany w śliski biznes, gdzie został jakkolwiek prawnie za to pociągnięty jego wspólnik i MrBeast działa z tym kuzynem dalej aktywnie, więc nie było szansy, żeby nie wiedział. Jest domniemanie, że zatrudnia krętacza w swojej firmie, który jest przy okazji związany z jego rodziną. Jedna osoba, którą zatrudnił, kiedyś nagrywała filmy dla dorosłych i jest też strasznie śliska i ma bardzo dziwne, chujowe zarzuty na głowie. Okej, to jest chyba najmocniejszy argument w tym wszystkim. No i dużo, a propos samego Jimmy'ego, czyli samego MrBeasta, jest dużo domniemań, że tutaj coś krzywego działo się w jego firmie, że tutaj jakieś nadużycia seksualne, tego typu rzeczy, jakieś głupie żarty, nie głupie żarty. Jak na moje, jeżeli weźmiemy wszystko to za pewnik, że to jest prawda, no to mi wygląda na po prostu, no MrBeast też bardzo szybko zeskalował swój biznes, nie? Co prawda on powiedział, że MrBeast też jakiś misogynistic, kurwa, żarty lubi sobie spropagować, no ale tak jak mówię, to jeżeli jakiś żart wyciągnięty z grona znajomych, gdzie każdy mniej więcej kojarzy konwencję, że to niekoniecznie wszystko musi być na poważnie, wyciągnie na światło publiczne, to też ma totalnie inny wydźwięk, więc ja tego nawet nie biorę pod uwagę osobiście. Dla mnie tu jest strasznie dużo pierdolenia o ludziach, którzy nie są MrBeastem, a bardzo mało rzeczy na samego MrBeasta. Nie będę tutaj całkowicie dyskredytował tego, że może rzeczywiście coś tam w tej firmie nie działało, coś tam kurwa się odjebało, jeżeli chodzi o jakieś seksistowskie zagrywki, ale no dalej oglądam trzeci film na MrBeasta i słyszę o jego współlasach i o ludziach z jego firmy. Też no, on się domyśla, że MrBeast musiał o tym wiedzieć. Dziwnym było zatrudnienie gościa, który nagrywał filmy dla dorosłych, no z tym się zgodzę, no to jest dziwne. Ale cała reszta tego filmu, no tak kurwa, nie wiem, no ja też go na dwie partie oglądałem, może coś mi się zgubiło, ale no uważam, że to jest trochę już milkowanie na siłę tego tematu. No nic.